Hello and welcome, I'm Philip. Today I'm creating a character design and I'm going to share my process with you. The prompt is Lunar Bard. So I randomly generated a prompt and I thought Lunar Bard was pretty interesting. And I do this beforehand so I have a clear goal or a starting idea to work with. So let's do it! So when I start, I begin with drawing a very simple gesture. I'm not thinking about any details, I'm just trying to get the pose and general expression of the character. After that, I'll add a new layer and work with line art on top of that. And because I already have a rough sketch, it's easier for me to create the line art. I'll make sure the lines are clean, so that will work as a base for the next step. As I'm working on the face, I want it to look decent already, so I'll have a base for that as well. After I have clean line art for the body, it's easier for me to draw clothing on top of that, instead of just starting on the spot. So for the outfit design, I gather a collection of references that you see me pulling up. I gather different images of historical, bard and fantasy clothing that would help me create the design of a bard. And the way I design the outfit for my character is I grab elements that I like from different images and I incorporate that into my design. For example, I use the scarf, the shape of the shirt and the cloak around the shoulders. In general, I let myself be inspired to get the ideas from these references. In particular, my visual library isn't that strong. Furthermore, I want to create a fictional idea that is convincing, and so looking at these references will really help me as a guide. As part of the design, I'm thinking about contrast in shapes and detail. For example, I'll use big shapes without detail against smaller shapes with more detail. The instrument I'll design separately, and since it's a symmetrical object, I'll just draw one half and copy the other to save time. I like the moon symbol in the bottom left image, and since the character is called Lunar Bard, this works as a characteristic that represents the name a bit more. Now I'll make a selection of the line art and fill it with a solid color, then I lock the layer and add the local colors. The way I think about the color scheme is I use very limited amount of colors, so the character becomes more memorable. If I think of great character designs, I think of characters like Goku from Dragon Ball Z, who consisted of only two colors, orange and blue, and that to me is how you create one of the most memorable characters. Having said that, color also contributes to narrative, mood and personality, so because I want to create cohesion with the name Lunar Bard, these colors will make the character appear more fitting for a night scene and make it more mysterious. For the lighting, I like to keep it simple when it comes to just character design. I'll choose one light source and add shadows. In this case I chose for a cool lighting against warm shadows. That will create this moonlight effect and the warm shadows add contrast. As for now, I just keep it rough and just focus on adding light and shadows for the character. I can refine it later and just keep it in steps so I don't have to think about everything at once. I make sure every part of the character has the same light source direction, because the last thing I want is every object living a life of its own in a different realm of reality. In the end, I want the idea to be very readable. For me, it should be very clear what the character is about, so I'm not necessarily focusing on making it the most detailed or high rendered as possible. The character can visually tell a narrative, so I want the most important elements of the character to be clear. Now I start to refine the rough painting and make sure there are the right contrasts for clear readability. At this step I can take the time to add whatever detail is necessary, and the reason I can take time now is because the most important has already been laid down. For just an idea, this step is not necessary, but I do it to make it more presentable. In the end, I played with color balance to bring out more colors that were missing, and I boosted the saturation and added rim light to make the silhouette pop out more against the dark background. Alright, so this is how one of my processes look like. I want to thank you so much for watching. Help me out by sharing or liking this video or subscribing, and most definitely tell me in the comments what you think so I can make better videos in the future. See ya!